You know what? We're not going to talk about Star Wars news today. We're just going to talk about the Ronin book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
you missed a lot.
I'm also going to have to edit all this now. Now it's the
Oh.
episode I'm going to have to edit.
Oh no.
So I did not know my sound was not on until now.
Your sound wasn't?
Our sound.
Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully it's working now.
We coming in clear? I hope we are.
Yeah, let me message. Okay, cool. Sound is working now.
Oh, thank God.
Okay. Let's do a very quick version of the recap that we've been doing for Ronin this entire time.
Okay.
Okay, so Ronin, first two chapters, basically just Ronin, just the duel from Visions.
Yeah.
Except now there's a voice in his head. I mean, we're not too bad. I think we can just recap it normally, the way we've been doing. But we'll do more of a highlights version.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit then. A lot, actually.
Okay.
So Ronin and B5 do their thing.
Ronin,
Kill the bandit, who is the
Koru.
who we learn now is Koru.
Yeah. He leaves town after giving like the boy the crystal.
Yeah. So yeah.
Meets a weirdo on the road called Traveler.
Yeah. And so the Traveler, they go to the space. They're heading towards the city towards a spaceport, where we learn a little bit about the culture of the Ronin verse.
Yeah.
And so the way the hierarchy works is there's the Emperor, who's dead.
Yep.
Princes, who are trying to figure out who's the next Emperor.
Yep.
They're Jedi Lords, who are like the warlords, essentially, of each territory. And then they're Guardians, which are basically the samurai. And then beneath that, apprentices.
Yeah.
And one of the only lords that really matters is a lord named Hanrai, who we will discuss later.
I'm going to say Hanrai is a badass.
Yeah. And one of the apprentices that really matters is Yuhiro, who we'll discuss later. So, excuse me. So, let's talk a little bit about what, like, some of the characters that we meet along the way. So after the the Traveler is kind of somebody that likes to mess with
Traveler loves
Ronin,
fucking with Ronin,
and it's not great for Ronin because there's also a voice in his head doing the same thing, and this voice is trying to get him killed, or at least that's what Ronin believes. Fair enough. And he actually thinks that this is another trap because basically the voice was like, you should talk to this Traveler guy, them.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to them.
But they keep pestering him anyway.
Yeah. Eventually, though, they split. And the Traveler goes to like this cantina where they find the bounty hunter from the duel episode, the surviving member.
Hey, there's a guy out there.
That's from that was coming from the same direction you came from, and looks exactly like this wanted poster that like is outside that Ronin also noticed. And so they're like, "Oh, really? Let's go deal with that." And so the bounty hunter starts chasing Ronin through the streets, along with some Jedi, some Jedi Guardians, because they were just having a party nearby.
So Ronin is now being hunted down
by them. But he's also trying not to use his lightsaber, which he cannot turn off.
Yep.
Which is why it's in a hilt all the time. That's why he's got the. That's why he has it.
Yep.
And
meanwhile,
Koru is also making their way to find them because
the bandit is no longer dead.
Bandit's not dead, and now also hears the voice.
Yep.
Which the Ronin believes that the voice is the Sith witch from the previous war. Because basically the Sith rebellion happened. It was basically a bunch of Guardians that didn't want to do what their lords were saying anymore, led by a Guardian that was like, I don't want to kill somebody that my lord told me to, and also I'm in love with this Sith witch here, so we're doing this together.
Yeah.
And we're going to also take the capital planet Reizu. That does not go well.
No.
Like, they
win.
They win, but then the planet disappears along with its inhabitants.
Yep. Way to go.
Yeah. And
Let's see.
so, yeah. So eventually, Ronin manages to get away from the group of like people chasing him.
Yep.
Reconnects with Traveler and is like, "Why'd you do that?" Traveler's like, "What are you talking about? I just told them that there was somebody that was coming from the same direction as them." And it's like, "Yeah, what do you think they were gonna think?" And
Meanwhile,
Koru
it's
also,
like also coming to get them.
yeah, Koru gets closer and actually gets the tail end of this chase,
Yeah.
and is like, "Oh, okay, now I see where my target is. Cool, I'm gonna kill them." Which the
Doesn't work.
voice in her head is also egging her on to do.
Yeah.
And so, and it's the same voice.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's the same voice. And so the Traveler tells Ronan, "Hey, I've got a ship we can get off on, and off
The
planet
Ronin's
with."
like, I don't have any better options.
Yeah, it's like public transportation where I will probably be arrested, or stealing a ship, or riding with you. Cool, I'll ride with you.
Yep.
And so, as they're about to board the ship, Koru catches up. Ronin and Koru get into a fight where Koru steals the Ronin's not working lightsaber,
Yep.
and is about to kill Ronin with it because Ronin force jumps into the ship.
Yep.
Koru is force jumping, ready to strike down when force push.
Yep.
Koru gets knocked to the ground, and we learn the Traveler has a little bit of a secret.
Yep.
They also can use the force.
Yep. We meet the rest of the crew.
Yeah, Ronin's kind of like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me?"
Ronin freaks the fuck out.
He's like, "Why didn't you tell me you knew the force?" "Well, I didn't lie to you. You never asked."
Yeah, basically.
and so the rest of the crew, we meet Akia, the pilot, who does not like Ronin.
Yeah.
And Chia, who
Chie,
also doesn't
who also
like
doesn't
Ronin.
like him.
Chie doesn't like Ronin either. And so we learn about a little bit about everybody as they like kind of explain their plan and why they brought Ronin onto the ship.
Yeah.
So Traveler wears a fox mask all the time.
Yep.
We learn that they're nicknamed Fox because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronin gets a little nickname Grim. B5 is just B5.
Yep.
He gets to just hang out with the crew. They like B5. Everybody likes B5. Even Koru eventually likes B5.
Even Koru. Actually, no. I think Koru's like, this one's useful, I guess.
But yeah, so the rest of the crew, so basically they explain to Grim / Ronin, "Hey, we need you because we need to find what happened to Reizu. We have some evidence that we can kind of bring Reizu back. Most of us are from Reizu, so it would be nice to bring it back.
Yeah.
And we kind of think you might be the only guy that can lead us there since you've been doing all this Sith hunting for years, and we've been kind of watching you for a bit."
Yeah. So they go and they have.
So like, yeah, Ronin's like, "Hey, I kind of know where we can go next. Let's go to this planet Decian. There was a fight there. I left something there. I can pick that up, and that will probably lead us on the right track."
That'll get us to the right place.
And so they're like, "Okay." So while they fly there, we learn a little bit about the crew.
Yeah.
We learn that Fox just likes messing with Ronin and
Yep.
for the benefit of Ronin, like it's growth for
Yeah.
Ronin, and like, but like they play this game, and it's kind of like chess.
It's
What was it again?
It's called shogi.
Shogi. And so like
Basically,
whenever
anytime
Ronin looks away,
he's like,
yeah, one piece. Traveler will move like
Like-
one piece.
it's never enough for him to like be outright caught cheating.
Yeah, like Ronin like knows because like B5's like, "Hey, you know, Traveler's like cheating," and Ronin's like, "Yeah, I know. I just haven't seen it with my own eyes, so I'm not gonna call them out yet. I wanna catch them."
Yeah.
Never does.
No.
No, and like this is a game that goes over for days as they're flying to
Yeah.
Decian.
Like they play multiple times.
Yeah, and like every time, like eventually, like Traveler will win, and they'll just win, and Ronin's like, "Well, I gotta give it to him."
Yeah. Chie. We don't really learn.
We don't learn anything really about Chie yet. We learn more later. Akia, we still like.
Don't know a lot about.
We just know that Akia doesn't trust
She
people.
doesn't like
Force users. Force users are not great for Akia.
Yeah.
We learn why later.
Yeah.
It's very like, it makes sense. I get it, and like, yeah. But they're fine. She's fine with Traveler because basically her view is as long as you're a Force user that's not using it to like for power and to benefit yourself, then you're cool.
Yeah.
which is why Jedi Lords and Sith are not great.
Yeah.
So eventually they make it to, and Akia has contacts. That's the other reason why Akia is important, because Akia is she knows people, so she gets them prepped. She's like, hey, we're going to Dekian, so we should probably get prepped for that, so that way we can lie low. And so she gets costumes and stuff for it. Meanwhile, Ronin's like, why do I need costumes and stuff? Why don't we have like mountain climbing gear? We're going to a mountain world. And they're like, when was the last when was the last time you went there?
He's like,
about 20 years ago?
Decade or two?
And they're like, oh, it has changed.
Yeah.
And so they land, and immediately he sees the changes.
And he's like, oh no.
It is Canto Bite. It's basically Canto Bite from The Last Jedi. It's a casino world, but it's all owned by like one corporation. And so and there's advertisements. Yeah. And so he's like, how are we supposed to get to the temple? And they're like, oh, don't worry, they sell tickets to the temple. They have a little cruise ship that takes you there, and they'll only let a few people go per season. But don't worry, my contacts got us the last few tickets for the season. And they're like, okay,
I guess this'll do.
So they're going there. Meanwhile, Koru has stolen a ship and is tracking them, going to Dekian. Hates space, but is like, I gotta do this. Like,
the motherfucker.
I gotta kill him.
I gotta kill him.
I gotta kill him for killing me, even though it didn't stick.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lord Hanrai, who we talked about earlier, he also has a sense to go to Dekian after having a little run-in with the Padawan Yuahiro. I always get that name wrong. Yuahiro. And Yuahiro is caught sneaking into his library late at night because Yuahiro's like, most Jedi Lords won't let me just read their books and stuff and learn. And Lord Hanrai's like, I'm not most Jedi Lords. I've learned from the mistakes of the Sith Rebellion. Meanwhile, like we were talking about earlier when our audio wasn't working, you have one of the apprentices come in and
hey man,
hey, the prince
are kind of having
an important meeting.
crisis.
Yeah, they're having a big meeting, and they need all of their Jedi Lords there. And you're being called, and he's like, "Nah, I'm going on vacation." But, my lord, they're worried that another war will happen. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. And so he leaves along with a few of his guardians and Yuahiro and a few other apprentices. Yeah. Basically takes a whole fleet with him.
Basically.
He just takes his ship essentially. It's basically a capital ship worth of Jedi. And it's very important I say that because we're going to explore that capital ship later.
Yeah.
So they go to Dekian and they arrive at Dekian about a little bit after the Ronin's crew. The Poor Crow, that's the name of the ship.
Yeah.
And so after the Poor Crow crew arrives there, Lord Hanrai and his crew arrive, and they start talking to the representatives of the planet, and they're like, hey, we need to get to the temple. I'm a Jedi, so obviously just give me a couple of your boats. We'll go there ourselves. Don't worry about the cruise.
Yeah.
Which the cruise has already left at this point.
Yeah, the cruise is already left.
And while on the cruise, so Ronin is in a disguise as a Sith Lord, but an actor playing the Sith Lord. Yeah. Because basically the ruse is that he's going to be part of this traditional play, and so all these other artists are pestering him, and they're like, how are you going to play the role? Tell us a little bit about what are you going method acting? Are you and some of them are even they're starting to discuss the philosophy of whether or not the Sith Witch exists.
Yeah.
And whether or not the war even existed, if it was all propaganda. Yeah. And this of course starts to make Ronin angry. Which Traveler was egging them on to keep asking this stuff until they notice that Ronin's actually getting angry, and they're like, ooh, I might have gone too far for once.
Maybe I need to get these
So yeah, tells him to get out, and is like, yeah, let the master actor do his method, because they like claim that he's like this renowned actor that's like just like full like that they can't recognize him because of how like into character he's gotten. And so yeah,
this will become even fucking funnier in hindsight.
Yeah, so they as the cruise ship starts to get in closer, they see that the Jedi have gotten there before them, and Traveler and Ronin are like, I kind of recognize that main Jedi that's there, and Chia and Akia are like, what? You recognize that Jedi? Because like, and Traveler's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't. Ronin and I shouldn't be seen.
Yeah,
and so they're like, they come up with a plan. Akia and Chia are going to distract the Jedi, while Ronin and Traveler are going to sneak in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronin is just like, all right, let's go. And they go overboard, pulling Traveler with them.
Because they're like, actually, it's fine. See, we have to jump off the boat now anyway.
Because Ronin's like, I know a way in. I did it when I was younger. And so they go underwater, and they do like a full underwater cavern moment to get there. So while they're on their way there, the Lord Hanrai is just getting pestered by like once the cruise ship arrives, he's getting pestered by the common folk who are like, "Oh, a Jedi! What are you doing here? What?
Please go away! I have Jedi stuff to do."
Meanwhile, and Chia is kind of like accompanying, but not like pestering him. And Akia notices that one of the Jedi boats has not left the dock yet. Like the doors are not open. No Jedi have left.
So she's like, I'm going to go check it out.
Flashback. Koru is on that boat, having killed the 2 Jedi that were in it.
Yes.
Because Koru snuck on as well.
Oh, and she was going to, like, dump the bodies in the water, but the voice is like, no,
it's better this way.
Keep them.
And so, Akia is pretending to be one of the servants from the cruise ship at this point, carrying a platter of food, and walks up to the boat and opens it, sees the dead bodies, dumps the food, keeps the platter, and holds it like a weapon. The best part of this book, honestly. And goes in there, and Koru's like, surprise! And
oh no, I shouldn't have done that.
Bam! Smacks Koru with the platter.
I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry.
Gives Koru a black eye. Koru's not a Sith Lord. She's a Sith apprentice, we should preface. And in fact, she would hate us for saying that. She's not a Sith anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... And then... So eventually, we learn, while Hanrai is catching up, Chia's like, so, everything going to plan, eh? And Hanrai's like, yeah, Chia. So tell me what's going on. Chia's a spy.
Yep. Chia. Betrayal.
Top 10 anime betrayals.
So they continue on their journey.
And Ronin and Traveler get there.
The temple, and Ronin's like looking for the item they left here.
It's a box.
It's a box. So he opens the box, and he goes,
what's in the box?
Nothing, apparently. And he's
well,
like,
still better than 7.
And he's like, well, shit. I don't know what to do now.
What you gonna do?
Because the thing I had in the box isn't in the box anymore.
Well then, that's not great.
Yeah. So they're like, well, I guess we better leave.
So and of course they're like, Traveler's like, well, I'm not going back the way we came. And he's like, well, yeah, I can't do that either. I did that more often when I was like 40 years younger than this.
Yeah.
We cannot do this again. And they're like, so what are we going to do? We can't go out the front door either, because that's where Lord Hanrai's coming. And they're like, and eventually Traveler's like, well, people take care of this place, so there must be a back door.
Yeah.
And so they start to make their way towards the back door. And eventually Hanrai, Akia, Chia, and Koru all catch up at like this. Like they're in an opening. They've made it to where like a bunch of bridges are.
Like there are people on the bridges. Like having a nice day.
Yeah, like this is like they've managed to get out. They're basically on the public area again.
The weird thing is like there are Jedi basically stationed at like the exits.
Yeah. So they've made it to where like basically this is back to the touristy side of the planet.
And so they're all basically Hanrai's just sort of standing around waiting because he's like, they're not gonna be able to leave without us knowing.
And eventually they're just like, yeah, we're gonna have to reveal ourselves. And
so they do.
Too. And
Hanrai,
he's
like, yes.
Yep. And so him and Ronin start getting into it.
Yeah.
And Chie immediately is like, shove to Traveler, shoving them off a bridge.
Yep. And Akia's over here. Poor Akia.
Kia's like, what the
Why?
Why? Why did my friend push my other friend?
Like, off a cliff.
Essentially.
And, like, it doesn't work.
No. And at this point, and Koru's like struggling because Koru wants to kill Ronin, but the voice is also saying, "Hey, you should kill him." And Koru does not want to do what the voice says.
I don't trust that shit.
No, you're just a voice in my head that's randomly appeared after I came back from the dead. Nah, no.
I'm gonna use my common sense and say no.
So out of spite, which is a common thing in this book, out of spite, I'm not gonna kill him. And so she kind of just watches everything unfold.
Yeah. And then she's like,
you know what, though? I could kill these other people, and that will distract the Jedi and allow us to leave.
Yeah, so she starts, like, cutting bridges in half. And people are, like, falling into the cavern. So the Jedi are like, oh, fuck, we better go do our job, I guess.
Yeah. And, excuse me. Meanwhile, so at this point, Ronin and Hanrai are dueling it out, and Hanrai is like, hey, I know who you are. Also, I know who that was. That was my former apprentice. And Ronin's like, why did you have Chia push your former apprentice off? And he's like, it was part of the plan, I guess. But he eventually he's like, so I know who you are. And this is where we get our first big plot twist of the book. Ronin is the Dark Lord from the Sith Rebellion. He's the one who started it all.
Yep.
And so Hanrai's like, so I know who you are, and I get why you did it. I get it. Like, the Jedi are not perfect, and in fact, I want you to join back up with us so we can reforge the Jedi.
Yeah.
And Ronin's, he's like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I don't really trust what you're saying. Like, I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying, but I don't trust it. Especially after, you had your apprentice shoved.
Oh, one of the people that is Chie actually gets, like, knocked down into the...
Yeah, because of the bridges being cut.
Yeah. Like, I think she ends up with, like, a broken arm and a broken leg.
Yeah. Yeah, she ends up having a broken leg. I remember that.
Yeah.
Because the next time she sees Koru, she's trying to hide it.
Let's see.
And then, so...
Oh, Koru, use the two, like, dead Jedi Guardians to, like, help her cut the bridges, and so when Ronin sees them, he just, like, shuts down.
Yeah, because Ronin's like, oh, this is going too far.
Yeah.
And so he kind of, like, turns himself in.
Basically.
And so Lord Hanrai arrests him, and Chia eventually, along with the other Jedi, regroup with Hanrai and Ronin. Yep. And then eventually Akia and Koru find the Traveler, and they get back onto the Poor Crow.
Yeah.
And so now we're kind of back where we were when we were discussing before the audio issues. So they where was it? Yeah. They go onto the ship, and Akia and Koru are kind of connecting. They're kind of becoming friends a little bit.
Yeah.
To the point that we're starting to learn more about their past. Like, we learned Akia's past now, and we learned why she doesn't trust Jedi or Sith.
Yeah.
And it's because when she was young, her family was killed by Sith during the Sith Rebellion, and then she, along with a bunch of other children, were made into soldiers.
Basically.
And basically were forced to fight for them.
Yeah.
And so she doesn't trust the Jedi, though, because eventually when the Jedi were winning, they did nothing to help because one of her Sith Lord commander went nuts and was like, well, I'm going to kill my own troops now.
Yep.
And Yeah, so
It was like there were 10 of me. There were me
like
and like
10 of like
9 of
my
my
like
friends,
10 of like people like me, people not that can't use the force.
and we were like,
All we had were guns and knives,
yeah,
and so they had to kill the Sith Lord by themselves.
and it
That
did not
would
go well.
like a lot of them died. I think Akia is the only one who survived.
Yeah,
And so Akia is very emotionally and physically and mentally scarred from that,
yeah,
which is fair.
Yep.
That causes
That-
trauma.
would do it.
And so she does not trust Force users that benefit from the system.
Yeah.
And Koru kind of is a similar,
Koru's.
kind of somewhere in that she doesn't trust Sith Lords
Yeah.
for the same reason.
I think with Koru, basically, one of the things that like she was on some like ship,
Mm-hmm.
and her like master basically shoved her in an escape pod, and she had to stay in there for like
Yeah.
an incredibly long time.
Which is why she does not like
Which is why
space.
she fucking hates space. She's like, there's nothing
A little
out
bit
here.
a little bit of claustrophobia and like the aloneness and
Yeah.
all that good stuff that happens when you're in space by yourself for days at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, not great. So we are just poor Crow is just filled with emotionally scarred people.
Yeah.
And so eventually they come to the realization, okay, we need to rescue Ronin because
Yeah.
we need him still because we did not find the thing we need and we still need to figure out what happened to Reizu.
We don't like you, but we need you.
Trevor was like, I like him.
Yeah.
And like B5's like, yeah, we need my master because B5's like missing their master.
Yeah.
And Ikia's like, yes, we'll get him.
Meanwhile,
So-
Hanrai is over like
Like he's like interrogating and like,
not really interrogating, but along those lines.
yeah, still
It's
he's-
like the friendliest interrogation
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
and he kind of slips that he has what was in that box.
He's like, yeah, I got that thing you needed.
Yeah, I took that. I found that like years ago.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it's like right here, man.
And so this is on his like ship. And so eventually,
Meanwhile,
The-
your hero is also asking him questions as he's like bringing him to and fro.
yeah, because Yuahiro's curious as usual, like learning about like who this Ronin guy is and kind of starting to hate him,
Yeah.
which is like unbecoming of a Jedi.
Hmm.
A common trait in this universe and story is like it's very unbecoming of your Jedi to do that. But okay. But eventually the poor Crow tracks down the capital ship, and they start to like sneak aboard. Meanwhile,
Was it?
a terrible idea because
Yeah.
at this point, like they're slow. Like Lord Hanrai is making Ronin angry,
Yeah.
and
Like
We
it
are-
gets to a point where Ronin is like, you know what? Fuck this shit.
Yeah, and we're-
I will rip it apart myself.
I forget like what was the catalyst for making him so angry.
It wasn't Hanrai. I think he just got like so pissed off that he wasn't being able to achieve his goals.
Yeah, and also
and like the voice.
oh yeah,
was
the
also,
voice
like-
kept messing with him. That's
Yeah.
right. And so he was just done. Like the voice was like kept pushing him to that breaking point.
Yeah.
And so we finally see why it was a good idea that the traveler was stopped him from being so angry because he just
Like,
starts
tore
he
through-
uses
I
the
think it-
he uses
it
the
was-
force to just break the ship.
Yeah, I think it was like a dreadnought.
Yeah, it's a dreadnought
Yeah.
essentially.
He ripped it apart.
He starts ripping it apart using the force from the inside.
Yeah.
And he's just tearing everything apart. Like think Force Unleashed types of damage.
And like people are like, let's get the fuck out of here because we can't fix this.
Yeah, like Jedi are running out of here, and like, so I think
Koru is.
Karu is snuck on the ship
Yeah.
to kind of just cause more chaos.
Yeah.
Akia is with Koru for the most. No, Akia stayed on the ship.
Yeah.
Akia stayed on the
Chie
poor Crow.
shows up.
Chie shows up with in front of Koru along with a bunch of the other Jedi,
Yeah.
like the younglings, along with Yuahiro,
Yeah.
and is like, "Hey, we're just trying to escape," and Koru's like, fine, I'll help you guys escape. I guess.
Yeah.
And like Traveler's just trying to find Ronin
He's like,
through all this damage, and eventually finds uh Lord Hanrai.
yeah,
They find Lord Hanrai first.
he encounters Koru, but Koru like realizes, yo,
I
this
can't
is
fight
not the
this guy.
place for me to be anywhere
I can't.
near.
I can't fight a Jedi Master. Nope. Because Koru was thinking, she was like, if I lost to Ronin, what are my chances against this Jedi Lord? Nope.
Yeah.
So
She's like,
I'm gonna help these
how about I
younglings.
leave?
Yeah, I'm gonna help these younglings and that old lady. And so,
The traveler also goes.
well, Traveler finds Lord Hanrai and
Yeah.
starts to get into a fight with
Yeah.
Lord Hanrai, where we learn Traveler's actual name, Edzuna. And so they are the former apprentice of Lord Hanrai and left. And Lord Hanrai is just curious why.
Yeah, because it's not really explained.
And Edzuna's like, you know why.
Yeah, it doesn't tell us, the reader, anything.
No,
It's like,
but Edzuna's. I think it's implied that Lord Hanrai is exactly like the other. I think he's lying to himself when he talks about like not being like the other Jedi lords. And I think he's lying to himself.
he might be, but
And I think he wants to be better. I don't think he's lying to himself out of like malicious intent where he's like trying to convince other
Yeah.
people. I think he's more trying to convince himself that I'm a good guy. I'm not a terrible person.
I think that's like why he tries to recruit the Ronin, being like, you had some good ideas, I want to talk about this. Unfortunately, the Ronin is currently fucking murdering the shit out of people. Not necessarily like
Yeah.
actively doing it.
Speaking
but
of, Edzuna found like a little like cat somewhere
Yeah.
along the and saved the cat. Saved the little kitty cat. Not a loth cat, but the Tuca cat.
Yeah.
Tuca cat. And so found a little Tuca cat and is kind of like petting it while they're just sitting while talking to Lord Hanrai, like as the wreckage is going on around them. And Lord Hanrai's like, why don't you come back? You can come back. And Adzuna's like, nah, I don't want that. And you know why.
He's like, oh, okay, I guess.
And so like, eventually, speaking of the murdering Ronin,
Yeah.
Ronin stabs
Yep.
Lord Hanrai in the back.
Doesn't take though.
Doesn't take. So well, we'll get to that. So he stabs him in the back. He collapses, and so then like,
He-
Adzuna / Traveler and Ronin get into an argument a little bit
Yeah,
over
he's
it.
Like, okay, motherfucker, you owe me some answers.
Yeah, also that, like, because Ronin overheard a little bit of that and is like, hey, you need to tell me what's going on here. And Adzuna's like, well, no, you just killed my master. I don't have to explain anything to you. We're getting back on the ship. And, like, at this point, Ronin has found, like, the crystal.
Yeah, he's found it.
Like, while he was going through this destruction, he eventually found it.
This isn't relevant to, like, the scene that's going on, but Koru, like, fixed Ronin's lightsaber.
Yeah, Koru fixed the broken lightsaber, yeah. But hasn't given it back to him yet.
Yeah.
Because they haven't seen each other yet.
Yeah. But as they're sort of
as they're having it out and arguing over like whether or not Adzuna should tell him more, Hanrai slowly rises back up.
Like, damn.
Death just does not take in the Ronin verse. At least when Ronin kills you.
Yeah. Maybe Ronin's like policy should be to like stab them twice to make sure.
So yeah, and then like this time Lord Hanrai comes back with a vengeance with like he comes in real hard on them.
He's like, all right, you got me.
Now it's my turn.
Yeah, and they're like, I think both of them gang up on him, and he's like, fucking, he's like washing them basically.
Yeah, he's winning.
They're like, fuck, this is.
So they decide to just book it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they leave, and eventually they manage to just barely escape. Lord Hanrai barely escapes on. Does he get on their ship, or is he on a different ship?
I think he's on a different ship.
Yeah, he escapes on a ship though, because he lives. He escapes the ship. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, or did he die here?
I think he died. No, he dies because Idzuna fucking kills him.
Here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Adzuna does kill him. it's been see that chapter. It's been a bit.
Ah,
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. Azuna kills him, and so then they board the ship. They manage to get away.
yeah.
The ship like is still continuing to like break apart while the poor younglings are watching it, and like they're just like our home essentially.
Yeah.
And like everybody's giving Ronan death glares because they're like, "Fuck you, you did that."
Yeah, and basically the equivalent of like the galactic SWAT team is going to show up any minute now.
But yeah, they're just kind of watching still, and like they watch long enough that a bunch of like 5 different conversations happen while the destruction's still
Yeah.
going on, and so like we learn a little bit about Yuahiro's curiosity. He like Chia kind of encourages it, and so
Yeah.
does a like. There's a moment with Akia where Akia's like, "Hey, remember though that you're still like a kid,
Yeah.
because like Yuahiro's like 14,
Yeah.
and Yuahiro's like, I'm an adult. Here you go. Here's some soup." And Akia's like, "Wait, I'm the adult here. I'm supposed to be taking care of the kids here.
Not
What is
the other
going
way
on?
around.
What's going on here? Especially when all these crazy people are on my ship."
I do find it funny that he's like at first like initially resistant to her help,
Yeah,
but then he's like, no,
yeah.
I don't need
Yuahiro's
the help.
like, "Yeah, you're right."
And he's like, I need things for this and this and this.
Yeah. And Aki, basically, they find middle ground. Akia's like, "Look, you can look after your fellow like Padawans and keep an eye out for the crazies, but remember that there are adults here as well that are here to watch over you."
Yeah. Uh
And so, like, yeah, and that's like their kind of moment.
oh. A little bit afterward.
And Koru begrudgingly gives Ronin his lightsaber back.
Yeah.
They have a kind of a thing where they're like, "I want to kill you, but right now,
n-
not now."
Not now. Actually, I think the Ronin does have like a little freak out.
Yeah, he does at first. He's like, "What are you doing here?"
Like, he tries to like actively fucking kill her.
But yeah, I think Akia breaks it up.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Akia and Chia break it up, and they're like, "Hey, well, not now." And like travel, and then they finally turn their faces towards Traveler Azuna and are like, "Hey, you owe us answers, by the way, of everything. And also, what did you find, by the way, Ronan?" And Ronan's like, "Oh yeah, I found this box, but I can't open it because it's gonna
If I open it, it'll explode.
it will explode. I need to figure out how to open it correctly, and so I need some rest."
Like, I just
But they also like gang up on Traveler before that
yeah.
because they're like, "Hey, you need to tell us what's going on here because that's going on outside, and we need a lot of answers now." And so Traveler finally is like, "So I don't know anything."
Yeah, it's basically what that is. He's like, I just knew I had to get
I know
this
what I.
box. I don't know what it does. I don't know anything
And
else.
in fact, I don't remember a lot about my past. I know what I like to eat. I know, like, I needed that box. I know I need who I needed to recruit. That's it.
That's it. That's all the information I was given.
I know, like, bits and bits here, like I know about my history with Lord Hanrai to a degree, but that's about it. And they're like, "Well, great."
Thanks. That helped us not at all.
So we now learn that another piece of information we learn now is that Akia has secretly been building a new prosthesis for Ronin,
Yeah.
but not to the benefit of Ronin. Akia was building it to kind of hang over Ronin's head and be like, "You need to help us, and I'll give you this."
Yeah. But now it's
But now it's like she's realized, okay, I need to give him this because he needs the rest. He needs all the focus he can get if he's gonna open that box.
yeah.
So she gives it to him,
Yeah. So
and he's actually very appreciative of it, and and like as appreciative as Ronin has ever been of anything that we've seen. Akia still doesn't like him, but Akia's like, "I guess it's nice that you appreciated it and that you were nice about it."
mhm.
They're slow. Everybody's slowly starting to like
They're
each other.
slowly getting like, okay. I don't
It's becoming
want to
Yeah.
immediately kill you.
Yeah. And so eventually they after everybody gets some rest, Traveler and Ronan do a little bit of talking, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, we need to just talk about our friendship and what's going on here."
Yeah.
And they kind of hash things out, and in doing so, they open the box
Yeah.
together because it took both of them.
Yep.
Because they realized that it needed both of them.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about Lord Hanrai, and they were like, "Wait a minute, this box. I know the way my master thinks that it's gonna take both of us,"
Like,
which is very Lord Hanrai.
yeah. Oh, Hanrai. He also plays shogi with the Ronin, and he's like, I take it my students still fucking cheat.
Yeah, yeah,
But he's dead now, so I guess it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
doesn't matter now. But yeah,
And I think like inside the box is like
it's a
It's a kyber
kyber
crystal.
crystal, and in it has the information towards the path.
yeah. And so they put it in the like little navigational
Mhm.
computer, and it just keeps not working.
Yeah,
Every time like Akia tries to put it in, she's like, "Well, this is bullshit."
and she's just like she's restarting her systems over, and she's doing the turn it off and on method, and it's just not working.
And so the Ronin's like, "All right, let me do it." And she's like, "I don't like it, but I'll let you."
And it works
Yeah.
immediately. And she's kind of angry. She's like, why is he able to do stuff on my ship?"
Yeah. and so they're like, "Okay, we need to go now."
Yeah. And so, yeah. So they make it.
So they make it.
Okay, Ryuzu is weird, man.
Reizu is weird. There are ghost zombies.
Yeah, there's
Zombie
ghosts and
ghosts?
zombies and like and there's no droids.
No droids. Actually,
Electronics
have a
are-
fucking hard time.
So it turns out that the electronics essentially have a half life. What's equivalent to a half life in the Star Wars universe, essentially, for like working. And so yeah, so they bring B5, and B5 is slowly just like
Basically
not
dying.
working. Yeah, he's basically dying. He's the droid equivalent of dying.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, we found this speeder, and maybe that'll get us like where we need to, because we got to get to that temple over there.
Yeah, that's like at the top of a mountain.
And hopefully that'll get us there, and this will end the curse, hopefully, if we can do all this correctly.
So they go.
Also, they're like still worried about B5. Like Akia's like, you sure you want to do this? Like,
She's like the doctor that's like, you shouldn't do this. This is
and
a bad
B5's
idea.
like, I'm fine, and she is like,
You're lying.
Chia tells Akia, look, if he didn't want to go, he'd let us know. He wants to do this.
And so they go, and they get to like the start of the path, and the voice is like, "So, you guys are gonna have quite the trip ahead of you." Because there's like what 11 temples or something
Yeah.
along the way.
You
It's
want to
called like the Pilgrim's Path. Like,
Yeah.
In order to get. To,
so we're gonna kind of skim them because
Yeah.
we're running behind now.
yeah.
So they kind of go through all the temples. They do the things that
Yep.
they need to do for them. I get
Koru gets lets go like off of a cliff.
Yeah,
edge
she
from
falls
Traveler.
a
She
lot.
falls.
In fact, I remember a specific passage just like Koru falls and falls and falls, and I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. And so that happens. The Traveler, the Ronin. At this point, B5 is shut down.
Yeah, like as they get closer to the temple, they're slowly losing more and more of their party members. Like by the time they get to the main part, it's just Ronin.
Yeah. Actually, no. Ronin and the Traveler sort of have like one last conversation.
Well, yeah.
On, like the temple steps,
Yeah,
and they are like almost murdered.
and they haven't. The big reveal hasn't happened yet, correct?
Not yet.
Okay, it's inside the
It's
temple.
inside the temple.
Yeah. So he goes into the temple, and there's like this.
There's this young lady waiting for him, and she's like, "Hey, Dad,
I've been waiting for you.
you broke my mirror, asshole."
And she's like, yeah.
But what the mirror basically does is
It's almost like a dimensional prison, the way it felt.
it is either a dimensional prison, but the way that I saw it was like saw it, the way that I understood it was like it basically allows you to look for anything or
Yeah. Basically, you can see anything, anytime, anywhere.
yeah. And so her dad, first time he looked into it was like he saw like the immensity and the vastness of it, and he was like when her mom was there,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Fuck that," and broke the mirror and like took one of the shards with him,
Yeah.
and that's what that kyber crystal was.
And it's part of why Raizu's kind of gone.
Yeah, because it's everywhere but nowhere,
Yep.
and like it's unclear what exactly happened to her mother, but the way that I
It's
understood
implied
it
that
is that she is the planet.
Yeah. It's implied she became one with the
Yeah.
planet.
And
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, so yeah. Essentially, the big twist is that the voice was never the witch.
Yeah.
It was his daughter.
yeah. And so she
Mirahi.
Marahi.
Marahi.
I'm sorry, this is a different pronunciation.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the audible pronunciation.
And so what she is so they have this discussion and she's like, "You know, Dad, I don't blame you for breaking my mirror. I wish it was fixed, but I don't blame you for it. I don't think you killed enough people the first time. Because we're still having the same goddamn problem."
Because just look, another war's about to happen.
And
Like,
so,
because like the prince thing is not going to plan.
no.
The what we're talking about earlier, where the princes had their little council meeting, not going great. It's
No,
not. It's
not.
it like Marahi essentially says, yeah, it's falling to crap.
Yeah. And she's like, "You should have killed more of them." And he's like, "I thought I had killed too many already."
Yeah, he's just like, I don't think what I did was right.
Yeah.
Like he regrets it.
Yeah. And so that happens, and they continue to have this like debate.
Philosophical back and forth.
Yeah.
He has the spirits of Koru come at him, as well as
Yeah.
the spirits of Lord Hanrai.
And they each offer their like own
Takes of it.
And I think, fuck, they're playing shogi again during this
Yeah.
conversation. And so they're having this conversation over shogi next to the broken mirror.
Yeah.
And so that is going on. And he's doing that, and eventually they like get up. And so she's like, "All right, I guess I'll have to kill you myself then if you're not gonna help me."
And so yeah,
So
and
she
he
goes to
kind of and he
kill-
lets her
he lets her,
because he like
but
spreads
not
open.
before he fucking makes sure that goddamn mirror is
Yep.
absolutely shattered.
So he grabs her and they slam into it together to make sure it shatters for good. And because she basically stabs him, he hugs her and boom, into the mirror.
And you know what? I think that was the right call. Fuck that mirror.
And then we just go
and
then smash cuts to like a week later. Yeah, Reizu's back to normal.
Yep.
Everybody can find it again if they want to. Not everybody believes it yet, and we find out everybody got out alive of the poor Crow crew. Akia's new mission is except for Koru.
But she's the planet now, or not? It's unclear.
But Akia's new plan is to just tell people that hey, Reizu's back and
it's real.
It's
and
real.
If you want, I will take you there.
Yep. And she's gonna start with people who had family here.
Yeah.
Ronin's plan is to kind of join her, sort of, because he's got to lie low, because the Jedi Lords are still after him.
Yep.
Because Jedi Lords are actually on their way to Reizu, because they're like, oh, the Imperial capital's back, so let's go there, and maybe that will help some of our issues. Traveler's alive. And so is Marahi, and Marahi and Ronin are gonna go on the ship together.
Yeah, and so she's
like in fact, Marahi's already on the ship.
Yeah, she's like reading a book from the temple.
Yeah,
and on the ship, she's sort of like, I want to
I want to be like you, Dad, now.
I'll be like you. Can you teach me how to make one of those?
And he's like, yeah, sure.
It's like a lightsaber, and he's like, at first he has.
He's hesitant.
But the voice, which is like, one of the phrases was like, "Honor my name as you never have."
Yep. And now it's like, now the voice is his act. And now it's actually the Sith Witch.
Yeah. And so he's like, "All right, I'll do it."
Yep. And that's the story of Ronin. Woo! So that was a lot.
With hindsight now, looking back at the chapter where he is on the ship and people are like basically being like, "The whoa, those Sith never happened." It's understandable how fucking pissed off he got, because one, he's like,
the love of his life and his daughter went missing that day.
Like, his wife is dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, the Sith Witch didn't exist. So that's being like, your wife never existed. They don't know they're talking.
No.
But, like, with hindsight, that's like, yeah, that would probably piss somebody off fiercely.
Especially like, because he has all this firsthand experience of this war. And they're just kind of going like, this war probably didn't even really exist the way that it's being thrown out. And no, this man saw like people die.
Yeah.
He killed people. He regrets that. Like,
And
that's like telling any war vet, nah, that war didn't happen. You don't do that.
Like, he has the absolute fucking right to be pissed off.
Yeah. I think this book was really strong. I kind of want more of the Visions type stuff, more Vision spin-offs like this.
Yeah.
I would read more of these books. Maybe not all of them in the Ronin verse. Maybe explore some of the other universes that we've seen in the Visions shows. If you want more Ronin stuff, sure, but like, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's actually about where I'd put it as well.
All right, so that was Visions. I'm sorry that you guys couldn't hear the audio until like halfway through, and we had to kind of recap Visions.
We're sorry, the excitement kind of drained out once we realized we.
Yeah, because we were, but I think we recapped it well enough.
Yeah,
and we still we liked this book enough that there was some good excitement. I think. So that was that book. That's one book closed now, and now we got next up. It's Into the Star Wars: The High Republic, Into the Dark. So this is, I'm gonna give a little bit of info about it, and then we'll kind of call it. So this is not the first novel in the High Republic series as a whole, but it's. I looked at like the best like timeline way to read them. There were basically two ways to start you off with the High Republic. We could have either started with Light of the Jedi, which was initially what I was thinking of starting us with, because that's like the first adult novel. And then there's Into the Dark, which is this, and it's the young adult novel. But there's some stuff that happens before the events of Light of the Jedi that is in this book. So for the most part, it's going to be concurrent. So when we get to Light of the Jedi, you'll realize what I'm talking about. But for now, it's not going to make sense. But just know, this is a book that takes place before, concurrently, and after one of the books we'll read later.
Oh, no.
Because all the High Republic stuff feeds into each other.
All right.
And in a good way. In a way that it will make sense.
That'll make sense.
Yes. So we'll have a week to read Into the Dark. I was unable to get a guest this week. Yeah. I tried. The person I was hoping to get, I didn't get back in touch with. So hopefully somebody may want to join us for this. I know more people that have read Into the Dark. I didn't know enough people that read Ronin, so it was hard to figure out who's read it and who I could bring onto the show. But this, I already know like 5 people I want to talk to about this.
Oh boy.
If not more. But I'm not going to bring them all on. I'm going to bring like one guest. That'd be too much.
God.
But yeah. So that's our book for next week. Thank you guys for watching and hanging in there, especially with the audio issue. And we'll see you guys next week. All right. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, both our YouTube and Twitch. So if you're watching us on YouTube, that would be youtube.com/Escape Reality Films. where you can subscribe and like this video, which I plan to edit and re-upload. And also, you can all check out our Patreon, which is linked down below on this video, where you'll be able to watch our content a week before it's uploaded to YouTube for the rest of our usual content. And if you're watching us on Twitch, that would be twitch.tv/CJ Star Wars 94. And that's where you can find us. Anything you want to throw out there?
How about the store?
Oh yes,
You know, the
yeah.
people who let
You know
us
what? Yeah.
record.
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and throw out the people who gave us the studio. That
Yeah.
would be the Mopcast Network. You can find their podcast on pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. Spotify is where I listen to them, but they're also on YouTube at youtube.com/Mopcast Network, where you can watch their video podcasts, where you'll also see me. And if you're in the Mobile, Alabama area, come check out Gamers and Geeks, which is where this podcast is being filmed. And that's a gaming shop where you can play Magic the Gathering, find D&D stuff. They also have a video game shop next to it that's inside the building. And so if you like video games, there's an arcade here. You can $10 gets you a day in the arcade. You don't have to pay for the games. You just get the $10, get the bracelet, and you can play any games you want. And for the video games, they actually also have a similar system where you pay a daily fee and you can play on a PlayStation or Xbox. Or if you don't have something at home and you want to play a cool game for a day, PC, I think they also have PCs. Yeah, so pretty much all your nerd stuff is here.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next Saturday, probably around the same time. We'll try to keep it around this time, around 1, I think, 1 Central, 1 p.m. Central. That works out for us. So, all right, see you guys next week. Thank you.
Have a good time. Bye.